Hey guys, it's Lizzie. So this is for any of my girl viewers, and it's kind of like big sister advice to help protect you from getting hurt by guys.
Hey baby, even though I hate you, I wanna love you, I want you, ooh, ooh.
I do not at all support viewing guys in general as jerks or people who we can't trust. I think that so many guys are amazing and incredible and super respectful, but I do know that there are a lot of guys out there who aren't genuine and don't have your best intentions at heart. And I think that if you're a genuine person and if you tend to have good intentions with people, then you expect other people to be the same, but it's not true. Not everyone has your same heart. I think that being genuine is a really important quality in a guy, and someone who acts like a player, they're gonna be not genuine by saying certain things, making you feel certain things that don't correspond with how they actually feel.
Cause baby, now we got bad blood. You know we used to be mad love.
A guy who's a player will act like he really likes you, is into you, thinks you're so attractive, wants to get to know you more, wants to date you, and then he'll disappear from your life in a couple weeks or a couple months. Or he'll continue acting like this and pursuing you and talking to you and making you feel special and being charming, and then you'll slowly realize that he acts like this to so many girls and that you're really not special to him at all. When a guy is leading you on and playing you, you never really have any closure, and it's kind of just unclear what's going on the entire time. Because of that, it's just something that's really hurtful, hard to deal with, and it's something you want to avoid.
In so deep, salt in the wound like you're laughing right at me. Oh.
I think the biggest concept to remember in identifying a guy as a player or someone who's not genuine is show, don't tell. Show, don't tell is creative writing 101. So instead of saying, she was sad, you talk about how she was crying, you describe the tears, you explain how she turned away and wasn't talking. I think it's a similar thing with guys like this. They'll say things to make you feel special, and if you're going off of what they're saying, they're someone who is really into you, someone you can trust. But if you go off of their actions and what they're showing you rather than what they're telling you, then you can identify this guy as someone who isn't very genuine. What I mean by that is pay attention to how he interacts with other girls. If a guy really likes you and is talking to you and pursuing you, then he won't be acting flirtatious with every girl he talks to. It's really not a good idea to be spending just one-on-one alone time with the guy who you're talking to. It's really good to spend time with him in group situations and see if he acts the same when he's around you as he does in a group. If he's acting different one-on-one compared to a group situation, then something's off and you should question that. But also, if you're in a group situation or in public somewhere, pay attention to how this guy interacts with other girls. If this guy is acting really touchy with other girls, or he's really affirming of them, or he's getting their numbers or texting a lot of girls, then he seems to be a player. Anyone can say anything to you, and that doesn't mean that they actually mean it. Something that is so cliche, but that I've literally been told before by a guy is, "You're the only girl I've ever met who," and then fill in the blank with some attribute about you that's apparently amazing. I feel like if you listen for it, you can just tell when certain guys say things that just sound almost fake. The way I define it is like it sounds like a line. Like if a guy is saying something that sounds like a line and that you almost want to like laugh and roll your eyes at, then it might be a guy who is a player. Also, I think that it's really smart to get an objective view of this guy, and so talk to your friends about it. It's really important to surround yourself with friends who you can trust and who want the best for you. Sometimes it feels good to tell a friend like, yeah, this guy really likes you, but if you really love her, you'll tell her the truth and tell her, yeah, I don't really think you should trust this guy. I don't think he's good for you. I don't think he really likes you. Without fail, my friends have always been aware of guys who are just kind of like not good for me or are players or will end up hurting me. They just know early on. I think it's really easy to not have an objective perspective when you're talking to a guy and like a guy and are so attracted to him. You don't really want to be honest with yourself. You really just want him to like you and want him to be a good guy, but I think that your friends really have that outside perspective that you should probably trust more than your own perspective. Besides listening to your friends and their input, also guys like this tend to have a reputation of being a player. There's this one guy at my school, and I remember having like 5 different conversations within the span of 2 weeks of just random people being like, yeah, so-and-so is a player. And the reason that guys get reputations like this is because they're talking to so many different girls, and then that girl gets hurt and then goes to her friends for emotional support, and then like 10 people know that this guy hurt her, and then another girl, 10 more people, and so soon like the whole school knows about this guy. And so especially if you're in high school and the school's smaller, everyone's just gonna know that this guy acts like this, doesn't really care, just kind of like is careless with girls' hearts. So of course Don't just immediately write someone off or label someone just because of something you heard. Like, give them a chance and talk to this guy, like expect the best, but just kind of be guarded around a guy who is showing all of these signs. So about a year ago, I was having a conversation with a campus minister at Pepperdine, and I was asking him for relationship advice because I'd kind of had a bad experience with a guy at our school, and I was kind of getting advice from him about the situation, but just like in general. And he was talking to me about how a healthy relationship should look and how the guy should be gentle with the girl's heart and be intentional about conversations and not get too emotionally close to her too fast. The conversation was probably less than an hour, but it just really stuck with me, and it's something that's changed the way I think about interacting with guys. That change is basically just the idea of having boundaries, emotional boundaries, spiritual boundaries, intellectual boundaries, physical boundaries. What I realized about myself is that if I get really, really emotionally close with a guy who I like and then he ends up being a player or ends up not liking me or we end up having some sort of falling out, I will feel hurt. But if he opened up a ton to me and I didn't open up that much to him, then I won't get hurt. For some reason, when I emotionally open up to a guy, and I'm sure a lot of you are like this too, it just makes me feel closer to him. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be emotionally close with guys. I'm just saying that if you meet a new guy who you're super attracted to, who seems like a player, the best thing to do is to not open up to him immediately. Most relationships in your life should take time and should be gradual, and if you're meeting someone and immediately opening up and sharing so much, then that could fall apart really fast and really, really hurt you. Even if this guy is really trustworthy and you're gonna have a relationship with him, it's just healthier if that opening up emotionally happens gradually rather than so much, like really soon at the beginning. The way you put your boundaries into practice is you communicate that you don't want to answer certain things. Like if a guy asks you a question, say, I don't want to answer that, or I don't want to talk about that. And if you're not as direct as I am, you can just kind of shift the conversation in a different way or answer a question very ambiguously. Boundaries are something that you really need to think through on your own. I feel like with me, I can share ideas that I have with anyone about philosophy or theology, and that's not something that really is that much depth. Like that wouldn't hurt me if I opened up to a guy about my theology about something. Like that wouldn't really hurt me if I liked him and he didn't like me. But if I share something about like my past or like some struggle I've gone through or something I'm struggling with in the moment, if I share stuff like that, then I could get hurt. What's personal for you might be different, and so just think through situations in the past when you've been hurt, what you shared that caused you to feel hurt, and then in the future try not to share those things with guys who you just met. I just want to reiterate this because every time I make videos talking about boundaries, everyone in the comments is like, you said I can't be friends with guys, and that's not at all what I'm saying. Like, you can be friends with guys, you can get to know guys who you like in a really depth way, but you just shouldn't do that upon immediately meeting a guy. And probably just like anyone in general, like you shouldn't get really, really close to someone like really fast and be like so emotionally vulnerable in the first conversation. That's just not something that's natural, and it's only something that we do when we really like someone and we want to just like rush and get to know them so fast. I end up being very emotionally vulnerable with people who I'm close to, including guy friends, and so I'm not at all saying that you have this boundary that no one ever passes except for the guy you marry or something. That's not at all what I mean. I'm just talking about when you first meet someone, be careful about opening up to them really fast. And this doesn't mean that you don't trust the guy, and I'm someone who I'm so trusting of everyone. I expect people to have good intentions, I expect people to be genuine, and if I'm going into a situation with a guy and I kind of think he might be a player, I don't just like write him off and like stop talking to him and like confront him and be like, you seem like a player. Like, I don't do that at all. I still like expect the best and like am hoping for the best, but I also am just aware that he might be one of those guys who's kind of careless with girls' hearts. You have so much power over the interactions and conversations you have with guys who you're talking to. You don't have to just let the guy lead the conversation into a specific place and just go with it. You don't have to let the guy just like touch you in a certain way and go with it. You can speak up, you can change the conversation's course, you can tell him, no, I don't want to share that.
Put on a film with you and sit on the couch, but we should get on a plane and we'll be listening now.
To end with, I just wanted to share something that I saw on Twitter, and it's really simple, but it just started with, don't trust charming, and then it went in to say that a guy who's really genuine, he won't have a ton of experience in talking with girls and texting girls and making girls feel special, and so a guy who hasn't had a ton of experience leading on girls, a relationship with this guy will be kind of awkward and it'll be imperfect, and so sometimes when a guy seems like he knows all the right things to say and like knows exactly how to make you feel special, like sometimes that charming isn't something that you should respond to with trust. If a guy is really, really good at making you feel special and at kind of navigating talking to a girl, it might be because he has a ton of experience talking to girls. And that might not actually be a good thing. You have so much control over the interactions you have with guys, and if you're just aware of how things could turn out and how you could get hurt, then you can use that wisdom to really protect yourself. So that is my advice on how to identify a guy who's a player and how to not get played and how to just protect your heart in general when you're dealing with relationships. If you have any specific questions or situations you want my input in, you can comment below and I'll try to get back to you. Also, I have a Facebook page that a lot of people message me on where you can write like longer messages and it's kind of one-on-one, so it's more personal, so you can message me on there too. And also make sure to be following me on Instagram and Twitter. My username for both of those is @LizziesAnswers, my first and my last name, and I love you so much. Bye!